You're tuned in to Chromebooks Today, the podcast where Chromebook news and views collide. If you need the show notes or just want to say hi, visit us at chromebooks.today.
All right, everybody, welcome to Chromebooks.today, the podcast dedicated to everything Chrome and Chrome-tastic things, Chromebooks, especially Chrome Pixels. Love the Chrome Pixel. And that's what this episode is going to be about. Craig and James, welcome to the show.
Hi, John.
Good evening, John.
Welcome, guys. This episode is last week, well, 2 weeks ago, I think it was. Has it been that long? It's been a while. We did take a little bit of a hiatus, and in that time, we released the information about the Pixel, and then here we are now with both Craig and James physically owning one, the Chrome Pixel model of 2015. Craig, what's its exact name? Is it the Pixel 2015? Is it the Pixel 2?
Oh, goodness. Don't get me started on naming conventions this early on. I've seen it called the Pixel 2nd Generation. I've seen it called the Pixel G2, which is basically the same thing. I've seen it called Pixel 2015. I don't think even Google is being standard with their naming convention across their support forums and help centers and things like that. But unofficially, behind the scenes, it's Samus. That was the code name. That's the name we've been following. That's your best shot for identifying it, honestly.
Yeah, that's a negative. Because no one out there in the world is like, did you buy a Samus? Yeah, no. Craig, come on. Yeah, no. I'm going to go, listen, unofficially, I'm going to go with the Pixel 2. But if you go to the website and someone says, John, how do I buy a Pixel? I say, oh, you want the new one? Just go to the Play Store. There's the Pixel, and that's the newest one. You're not going to be able to buy the old Pixel there. You're just going to get a Pixel. So that's what I'm going with. But also in the news this week, big news. Along with the Pixel, you've got this super fast, awesome machine. Then Google also says, here's how you can get your Android devices, Android apps, onto your Chrome OS devices. Literally, like Craig said earlier, open the floodgates. The floodgates are now open to allow you to port easily a Android app to Chrome OS. So that's going to be the two things that we're going to talk about. I think we jump into the Pixel review first, and then we jump into the Android stuff afterward, just so we can talk about those Pixels that you guys got. I know that you're excited. I know that I'm excited. But what I would like to do, first of all, is start off with the fact that both of you have had multiple Chrome devices, right? You've had Acer C720s, you've had HP 11s, also known as the Firestarter. You've had Chrome boxes. You have both had multiple devices across the plethora of devices, 4 gig, Celeron, ARM chips. Let me get your first impression right off the bat from James. I want to go to you first. James, what's the Pixel all about? What was the first thing you saw when you cracked it open?
Well, one thing I like about it is the way it looks. I've never liked the way that the MacBooks and some of the Ultrabooks look, where the top half is super thin and the bottom half is whatever thickness. With the Pixel, it's almost the same thickness. The top half is a little bit thinner, but I just like that look better. I don't like the weird looks where it's thick up towards the screen and then it gets thin down towards the end closer to you, that kind of stuff. So just aesthetically, I like the way the Pixel looks. I like its kind of boxy appearance almost, with the corners being a little smaller radius, the top and bottom halves being the same thickness all the way around, and then this shiny kind of metal. So I also love the fact that it says Chrome above the keyboard instead of HP or Acer or Lenovo, whatever. I know it's stupid, but it just, as a fanboy, I much rather would see the shiny lettering that says Chrome rather than HP or Asus, because I mean, really, who cares about HP or Asus, right? There's no such thing as a HP fanboy. I don't even know why they put their logo on the machines. Nobody cares. Chrome, though, is awesome. I love seeing that there. And the light bar, of course, is pretty awesome.
When you say light bar, what were we? I know that we mentioned it 2 weeks ago, but what does the light bar do?
Well, aside from just looking cool, normally it's got the just the red, the blue, red, yellow, green bar that's lit up, and it just kind of stays lit, and it's on the top of the cover of the laptop. So, and what it does that's unique is when the lid is closed, it's off, of course, because you don't want to drain your battery all day. But if you double tap next to it, or I found pretty much anywhere on the lid, if you tap hard enough, it will actually show you your battery level. The lights will light up green, and they'll so there's 4 lights. So if it was exactly 75%, then 3 of the lights would light up full brightness. If it's like 85, 90%, 3 bars will light up bright, and the 4th one will light up kind of dim. So it does a pretty good job of giving you a good indication of what your battery level is without having to open it up and look at it.
That is super awesome. I love that. I think we'd heard about that. I think it was a rumor last time we talked, and so that just to hear that's actual feature is pretty cool. Craig, what about the weight?
What about the weight, John? It's heavy.
I waited forever for mine. I don't know about you.
Craig.
Well, it's heavy, John, like it should be. It like James said, it's a piece of metal. It's the type of thing you would expect to find in the wreckage at Roswell. It's got funny-looking lights. It's an odd squared design, and it feels premium. It definitely does not feel like the HP 11 or even Acer C720, which looks better built but still has that plastic feel to it. No, this thing's metal. I mean, you can feel it. You can feel it. And I always get the feeling that if I drop it, I'm going to lose a toe. That's just me. And I don't wear steel-toed boots or anything. I don't know what would happen if a Pixel hit a steel-toed boot. Sparks, probably?
I guess. Well, okay. So the weight, so it's heavy, and you're right. It's metal.
I'm not sure I'd use the H word.
Oh,
I wouldn't call it heavy.
Excuse me.
It's not as heavy as the HP 14.
Did I just call your laptop fat? Is that what's
going on? You did, and the light bar got a little dimmer when you said that.
Well, I'm used to the HP 11, which admittedly is just a plastic frisbee, but it's very lightweight, and I'm pretty sure that if I threw it, it would just fly.
Right.
And compared to that,
yeah,
well, yeah,
I've been using the Acer C720, which is also super light, and this is definitely heavier than that. I'm just not sure I would say it's actually heavy. The HP 14, which I used to make fun of people for calling heavy, after I used the Acer for a while, and then I bought another HP 14 because it was white. I found myself never using it. I had the HP 14 and the Acer, never picked up the HP because it was so heavy. This Pixel is not that heavy, but it is definitely heavier than your HP 11 or the Acer.
Right. It's not heavy to the point where it would wear you out if you had to carry it on your shoulder.
Right.
But it's heavy enough that it feels premium, and I think that's the part we should be underlining.
There's an appropriate amount of weight involved in this machine.
Yes, and to that point, you can open the lid with a single finger because it's appropriately weighted at the bottom.
Which is nice. I hate that about the Acer. It takes 2 hands to open it because it's so light. I have to hold the bottom half down while I open the lid, and that's super annoying. First world problems, I know.
I was going to say, no, listen, as a non-owner of a Pixel, a person who's just listening, light bars, double tapping the top, getting, the fact that you have Chrome, the word Chrome instead of it saying Acer or Asus or something like that. I mean, as much as these things are first world problems, when you're a Google fanboy, when you're a Chrome fanboy, I mean, you're speaking my language, right? I can say that. So and the heaviness, I totally agree. I have one more question in regard to the weight though, and that is, or not just the weight, but also the feel of it, because you mentioned that it is heavier, and James, you said that the thickness of the bottom and the top is roughly the same. This was my overall impression of holding the older model, and Craig, I'm going to double check with you because I think you researched this. The chassis is almost identical to the old one, isn't that correct?
I think so. I've only had one experience with the first generation model, and it was very brief. So I can't say that they're very similar or exactly the same, but I've heard from the pictures I've seen and that sort of thing, most of the design qualities are the same. It's the same screen ratio. The hinge is a similar design. Whether or not they've made fine improvements under the hood for various attributes is a different conversation. But from the outside, I'm not sure that you could tell them apart if they were side by side.
John, I've done a little bit of research on that because I was looking for possible like skins and covers and whatnot for it. As far as on paper, the dimensions are all exactly the same. But the one thing I did notice is the keyboard does look a little bit different. If you look at this keyboard, there's like the same gap between the numbers and then the function buttons at the top as there is between the middle row of letters and the top row of letters. But on the original Pixel, there wasn't that gap. I'm sorry. It's the wrong gap. The gap between the function buttons, like between the contrast down and contrast up buttons, on the original Pixel, there's almost no gap between all those buttons. So I don't know if the whole keyboard area is the same or different, but I did notice right away that the function keys look different, but the dimensions are all supposed to be the same. The height, width, length, depth, the weight, and all that is identical to the old Pixel.
Interesting. Okay, well, so and this brings me to my final question, just about the size and weight, because we could debate that all night. And forgive me, but the iPhone 4 is my fastest way to express to someone how solid and thick the old Pixel was for the top and bottom, and it's almost as if you had two really large, and forgive me, iPhones that were more square, and then you just kind of sandwich them together, and you could imagine how thick that was. It's not that thick, but would you say in regard to material of design and things like that, not to use material design, but to just say that the quality of everything is kind of like that? I hate to say that, but we all know that also that iPhones are a really nice piece of hardware. So to say that you've got two iPhones, the thickness of two iPhone 4s, I use the 4 because later on they got all rounded again. But does that make sense? Would you use that? Is that a proper description or no? Or what would you do to describe it, Craig? What would you say?
Okay, so with the lid open, the bottom half of the device is about the same height as a Moto X 2014. So if you're looking for size comparison, that's that. I would say it's about the same build quality as the Moto X 2014. It's got that, 2014 has that metal roundabout on the edge, which feels very similar to the Pixel's metal, actually. So I don't know the build quality of iPhones, but I can say that this is by far the best build quality of a Chromebook.
Okay. Now, and I don't mean it. So for those listening, so the iPhone 4 was the square design, right? So it had like a square edge to it, and that's why I say that's what the Pixel felt like to me, the original Pixel. So that's what it has, this really solid feeling. It's just all solid. Nothing moves. It's just a solid piece of. It almost feels like two solid pieces of metal that make this perfect laptop. Is that more accurate?
Yeah, I guess. It's built really well. I mean, we can we can say what we want, but it's built well. And I get the impression that when holding it, if I were to drop it, I would lose a toe. I mean, that's the way it feels. It feels like it would break through my foot, bone and all. So it's built well. It's built well.
I don't mean to beat a dead horse on the quality of the build.
It's
James,
worth mentioning that the iPhone 4 is 9.3 millimeters thick, and the Pixel is only 16.2 millimeters thick, so it is thinner than two iPhone 4s stacked on top of each other.
Well, there you go. Thank you, James. I appreciate that. Google to the rescue there.
I use Bing.
Oh, shut up.
I get Google results anyways when I use Bing.
James, let's go to you first on performance wise. The Pixel has been known to be the quintessential creme de la creme when it comes to the Chromebooks, but I also know that you've got the i3 Chromebox, right? So you kind of know, with what people speak of when they talk about i3, i5 chipsets in the Chrome OS world. What are your thoughts on having the Pixel now, the Pixel 2 for the past few days, week or so? Performance wise, is this the cheetah to all of your kittens?
Since I don't know what that means, I'm not going to answer that question directly. But I can certainly talk about the performance of this machine. I've owned many Chromebooks. The only Chromebook I have not owned is I've never owned an ARM processor Chromebook, so I can't really talk about those. I've had the Samsung 550, which had some kind of Intel chip, I believe, two HP 14s, two Acer C720, one's the touchscreen, and then the i3 Chromebox you mentioned from Asus, and now this. And obviously this one, it performs better than any of them. I was a little skeptical because of how well the i3 Chromebox performs with the Haswell generation i3 and 4 gigabytes of RAM. The Pixel has the Broadwell series i5 and 8 or 16, 8 gigabytes of RAM, the model that I have. And it is faster. One thing I notice is when I open the lid, it's amazing how quickly it's ready to go. I mean, the screen is lit up before it's fully open, and I'm connected to my Wi-Fi, and I'm ready to go. On my Acer C720, which has the Haswell generation Celeron processor and 2 gigabytes of RAM, it takes a while. I mean, from being shut off to boot up, yeah, it boots up in about 8 seconds, like they say, but waking up the device, and it has to sit there and load all the tabs that I had before and reconnect to my Wi-Fi, that takes some time. But with the Pixel, it's just like, I mean, it's pretty much instant. It's pretty amazing. I don't really know how fast the Chromebox does it because I have to wait for my monitor to turn on every time I go up there to get on that Chromebox. So, I don't know if the monitor, or if the Chromebox is just barely beating the monitor, or if, or what. But with the Pixel, I can tell that it's instant. It's much, much faster to get started than the Acer. I've also never experienced any kind of lag or anything. I had one tab crash. Not sure what was going on there. It was Google Plus, so Google Plus brings down the most powerful machines, so you can't really blame the Pixel for that. But it's just super fast. No lag, no issues. It connects to Wi-Fi right away, which sounds small, but it's kind of a big deal. My Acer takes a while to reconnect to my Wi-Fi every time I open the lid.
All right, that's fair enough. I mean, it sounds like it's definitely the champion. Might not be the cheetah of the kittens, but it's definitely the champion speed-wise.
It may or may not be.
It may or may not be.
I do not know.
Craig, I know that you've got kittens too, and so you have actually had some ARM-based systems to kind of benchmark as well here, and I know that it's very unfair to talk about the Pixel versus an ARM chip, but performance-wise for you, what are your thoughts? What was the first thing that jumped out at you?
Well, the first thing that jumped out was Google Plus has never scrolled well fluidly on any device I've ever owned, including my souped-up Windows PC. So what I discovered was, obviously the engineers at Google all own i5s or better, because Google Plus scrolls on the Pixel. It scrolls. It doesn't flicker halfway down the page when you move the mouse. It actually has this. It's the strangest thing in the world. It kind of like an animation where things move all at once fluidly. I've only ever seen it on other sites. I don't know. But yeah, it's amazing. It's truly amazing.
Music to my ears.
Yeah, it does. It really does. Just talking about it makes music play out of nowhere. It's magical. It really is. Other than that, performance has been fairly okay. I've had a few crashes, but that's not uncommon for me. I put my devices through their paces. It blows ARM out of the water, but my latest ARM is a HP 11 with going on a 3-year-old chip now, so it's really, really unfair. Next week, we're going to talk about some new devices that are running newer ARM chips, and I would really like to compare it to that and see how far ARM has come since. But I can't imagine ARM chips touching this with the prices they're currently at anyway. Other than that, the Pixel's fast, John. It's very fast. I won't rehash everything that James said, but it's fast, and there's been a few times where it lags, but like I said, I run a lot of extensions. I run a lot of tabs. Moving the mouse across the screen lags on all of my devices, but the Pixel seems to do it a whole lot less. That's what I'll say. And if you go for the ludicrous speed model, I doubt it would be an issue at all.
Well, there you go. Now, I recently had to really. I have a very old Windows PC, and I've had to really kind of engineer Chrome to work well. So I know what you mean when it comes to the ludicrous speed versus working with the older models of Chrome OS devices. That's something you do have to work with. But that being said, we know it blows away the competition when it comes to speed. We know this, right? You've got an i5 processor. You've got, like James said, it's the next generation. Craig, I'll start with you on this because I think you've had your Pixel a little bit longer. What are we looking at with battery life? We heard things that sounded untrue, fanciful, unicorn-like. I think I cussed under my breath when you said how many hours it was available. What are you looking at with battery life with the Pixel 2?
Well, the sticker says 12 hours, and I haven't tested it. I'll be honest. And the reason why is because anytime I notice it gets under 50%, I plug in the charger, and an hour later, it's full. If that. The quick charge, it's real. It's real, John. It'll give you 2 hours of battery life in 15 minutes. They're not kidding about that. It's fast. It works. I don't know how. It's magic. Unicorns must be powering it or something. But battery life, I took it with me on some trips, and I can get a full day out of it for periods at a time. I don't know that 12 hours is realistic for me with all of the extensions I use. I do a lot of video playback, resource-intensive tabs, stuff like that. If I had to guess, I would say I've been getting 8 to 10. So not too far off the mark. It's definitely better than the 5 I get on some of my other devices. And I would feel comfortable taking just the Pixel without a charger with me for a 9 to 5 trip, knowing that I'm only going to use it, not the entire time, but, throughout that time. But honestly, with the charger and USB 3.0 coming quickly, 3.1, sorry, Type-C, are we going to be in a world where you won't have a charger handy?
That you make a good point. I don't know. I mean, I think the way of the future really, we talk about the USB 3, but Craig, I think you might be right that laying any device on some, surface in your home and getting it charged is more the future than necessarily going with more the future. Okay, more outlandishly future. But yeah, you're right. With the C becoming more normal, 3.0 becoming more normal. Yeah, you're right. Everyone's gonna have a charger, especially because it's becoming a standard. So Agreed.
Right. And just to add on to that, with the 2 hour for every 15-minute quick charging, I don't see it being an issue. Even if it only did get 5 hours, and let's say 5 years from now, if the battery deteriorates and I'm only getting 3 to 5 hours, I don't know that it would be a problem. As long as I could find a charger or an outlet every few hours to top it off completely in a couple minutes, I don't know that it's a problem. And as the charger prices come down, as the standard grows, and phones start shipping with them and everything else, I think it'll be normal to have a charger at home, a charger at work, a car charger, chargers everywhere, just like you have phone chargers now. You can get $5 gets you a phone charger that you can plug into your car and charge it from your car. So I don't know that it's going to be a big issue as we get moving on. But right now, like I said, I'm getting probably 8 to 10 if I sat down and clocked it. So I'm not worried about battery life at all, John. I'm thrilled.
All right. James, I know that you've had it a little bit less time, but I want to ask you, I'm going to throw in an extra question. A, what's your battery life look like? And B, and Craig, I hate to steal this from you and give it to James, but what are you thinking about the USB? James?
Yeah. As far as battery goes, when you first asked the question about battery, I checked my battery status. I'm at 91%, and it said I had 6 hours and 7 minutes left. I've lost 10 minutes, apparently. 13 minutes, apparently, since you asked the question, and I don't think Craig droned on for 13 minutes there about the battery. So, not really sure. Hangouts maybe is kind of a battery drainer. I've never really paid attention because I've been doing Hangouts on the Chromebox for quite a while now. So maybe it's just Hangouts draining the battery. But as far as what I've been using it the past couple of days, like Craig, I haven't worried. When I'm going to Starbucks, if I open it up and I had 50% battery left, I wouldn't bring my charger to Starbucks if I'm going to be there for a few hours. It seems to has a battery life that's similar to my Acer C720, which claims 8 hours, but has never quite gotten that when I've tested it, probably closer to 6 or 7. But it's been good. Definitely a lot better than the original Pixel, which I think on average got about 45 minutes of battery life on a full charge. This one is quite a bit better than that, of course. And it's definitely, for what you're getting in the machine, it's definitely acceptable. It's 100% acceptable. Even if my percentage is right and I only get 7 hours and they told me I'd get 12, for this nice of a screen, processor, and having to run a fan, 7 hours of battery life is phenomenal for me.
Okay, now, but what about the USB 3 or USB-C, micro C?
Well, it's awesome. I love that there's one on both sides of the device, so I can charge it, for either side, whatever's most convenient at the time. And it's also awesome that you can't plug it in upside down. It's not like USB has been traditionally, where you try to plug it in and it doesn't work, and you flip it over and it still doesn't work, and you flip it over again and now it works. With this, it just works the first time. And so that's nice. It'll be really nice when that becomes more standard, when devices start using that. If there was a cheap adapter, I would be okay if my device had only had USB-C ports, and I just buy an adapter for my legacy devices. But it'll be exciting when it's more standard and all my devices use that. It's small. It's small enough that I think it would work just fine on a mobile device. So like Craig said, it'll be really nice to have the one charger for all your devices, which Google was kind of going for with the HP 11, since everybody except iPhone users has a micro USB charger, or 12. So that was convenient for the HP 11 users, and now the rest of us will have the same kind of convenience with this new USB.
I like it. That is the fact that there's one on each side. The fact that they're dual purpose is pretty cool. Craig, I will give you the opportunity because I know that you've been been drooling a little bit over this technology. But the other thing I want to ask you about, Craig, I'm going to start with you on this. First, let us know what you think about the USB-C. But the other thing is the display. James mentioned it, and I haven't even thought of it, to be honest. But I realize that you're looking at a diamond encrusted display over there with that as well. So just let us know what your thoughts on the USB-C now that you've had a chance to use it, and then also that I believe it's an IPS display, right?
USB Type-C has lived up to every expectation I had. It's phenomenal. Like James said, it's on both sides of the device. It's ready to go. Depending on where I put it on my desk, I use both ports. It's handy. The charger is a fantastic charger. I actually did a Google Plus post. Very well designed piece of equipment. As for general usage of the standard in the future, I'm excited. I can definitely see it on mobile phones, tablets, the whole 9 yards. Hopefully with quick charge, because I think that's going to be a selling point moving forward. Especially if we can't make batteries last longer, at least we can make them recharge faster. So as far as that's concerned, I'm loving it, John. As for the display, what can you say? What can you say negative about this display? It is beautiful. It's got a wide viewing angle. It lights up pretty well. If anything, my biggest complaint is that it doesn't get dim enough when I turn the brightness down. It's still blinding, especially if you're looking at a white screen. But I mean, that's easy to overcome. You put on sunglasses and move on. Sunglasses at night. So it's beautiful, John. It's beautiful. I have no complaints about the display. I do want to say that I checked YouTube out and some other sites for very high definition videos, and what I found was, for some reason, videos like that don't play very well on the Pixel, even with the i5. They still stutter. There's still some problems with that, specifically 4K videos, and I know the display isn't quite 4K, but still, it should be able to process those videos. So I don't know if it's hardware decoding versus software decoding, but something isn't quite right there. I can throw some sample videos in the show notes, but there's one in particular. It was like a CGI demo, and I couldn't get it to play on any device I owned. They all stuttered. So I don't know, but the Timescape sample video is phenomenal, and of course wallpapers are great. YouTube in 1080p is gorgeous. It plays that fine. But when you get up there in definitions, it starts to get a little iffy. And the i7 model may not have a problem. I don't know. And it may be something they're working on. It may be Flash versus HTML5 video. I have no idea. That's just my experience so far.
I had similar issues with super high resolution videos, but I found that I'm fairly certain that issue was my internet trying to download that much data. Because if I let it buffer and then play, I didn't have any stuttering issues until it caught up to where it buffered. Then I'd pause it again and wait a little bit, let it buffer some more. But in between buffering, I didn't see any issues with like that Timescapes video in particular. I think it lets you go all the way up to 2500 something by something pixels, and my internet just wouldn't have it.
Yeah, I thought that could be an issue. The CGI demo, they had a torrent download, and it was like 2 gigabytes. So I did that, and even playing it locally, it was just a mess. So I don't know. Hardware versus software decoding is probably my guess. And in which case, if I don't know whether the graphics card's handling it or if the processor's handling it. But I'm not too worried. 1080p is fine, and honestly, you're going to be hard pressed to find content in better quality than that anyway, for now. So we've got time to work on that.
All right, well, there you go. So the Pixel's a beast. That's basically what the overall the overall. I mean, literally, like they've packaged it in a metal design, and they've stuffed everything they can all the way out to the very edges of that metal design. The display is awesome. The speed is great. It sounds like it's a rousing +1 from both of you review wise to get one. Really quickly, James, what's the pricing on these right now? Just so people understand that what we are talking about is a very high-end Chrome OS device.
Well, the model that Craig and I have is $999.99-ish cents, plus tax, and that's the one with the i5 processor and the 8 gigs of RAM. And then there is another model with the i7 processor and more RAM, 16 gigabytes, I think. I don't know, more RAM than this one, and that one is $1,300.
All right. So basically, you're getting the creme de la creme of the Chrome OS devices for portable Chrome OS devices, and so there's a price tag on that. I mean, you're getting not just an i7, so to speak, if you go ludicrous speed, but you're also getting that IPS display that Craig described. You're getting everything else, the USB-C. I mean, everything. So just keep that in mind. If you're a lover of the Chrome OS, it's definitely something to pick up. Gentlemen, let's switch over to a little bit of news now that we've looked at your Austin Pixels and basically everyone's like jealous, totally jelly. Let's talk about something else, and that is to round out the show, because what we talked about was the premier devices. Let's talk about what Chrome OS can do. We know about the standard Chrome packaged app. It's built with JavaScript, or the Chrome packaged app. It's built, with the native client, and it might be even more powerful. But, whatever. There's not many of those out there, and whatever else you got. The rest of them are all links, and so. And I'm not trying to belittle the platform. I'm just saying what people say, right? It is a browser-based OS, and so you have to have some of those contingencies. But we are also talking about Google, and this week. As Craig mentioned, the floodgates opened, and we do have a link in the show notes from OMG Chrome. Basically, the ARC Welder came out. So, and this is from Google, and it allows you to take an APK, which is the packaged Android app. It allows you to launch the APK using ARC Welder, or at least, I guess, to massage the application into the Chrome OS ecosystem. Like literally, Craig said, open the floodgates. So everybody and their mom who knows how to take an APK and use the ARC Welder app from the Chrome Web Store is able to test and see if an app will literally open on Chrome OS. Wow. Also this week, VLC mentioned that they'd like to port their Android app properly, not just necessarily with the ARC Welder, but just properly, so that way you get the VLC player on Chrome OS, which if you're out there and you're like, oh, VLC, I know about that. If you're not, VLC is basically the best open source, and when I say open source, I say that with a good light. In this instance, media player. It could any media you have, and you throw it a VLC, it'll play. So imagine Chrome. I mean, we have the standard player, but it can do everything. VLC can do everything. So that aside, Craig, I'll start with you. Huge news. Floodgates open. What? Like, what does this mean for Google? I mean, you can take an Android app. You literally take the packaged Android app, APK, the APK file. You can grab it off your phone. You throw it in the ARC Welder. You've got an Android app on Chrome OS. Yes, you might have some problems with it, but the developers can kind of tweak those if they're doing it, and they can make it work. What does this mean, Craig?
Well, first to clarify, the ARC Welder is not meant for end users. It's not a case of John wants to rip the Skype app off his Android phone and make it work on Chrome OS. That's not what the tool is designed for. You will run into problems using it that way. The tool is designed to help the developer get the app ready to publish in the Chrome Web Store. So they'll fire up the Welder, they'll load in the Android version, they'll get a Chrome version, they will spot the errors, they will correct the errors in the Android version and try it again until they get something that's worth publishing. VLC had some pretty good luck with that. It seems like they only had to change a few things. Their app is already in private testing. They've sent some out to review units, people that had review units of Chromebooks. and they've reported great success even on some of the lower-end ARM models. So as far as implications of this, there are a lot of implications, John. A lot. First of all, it's not just for Chrome OS. This will now work anywhere Chrome works, except iOS. So it'll work on Windows, it'll work on Mac, it'll work on Linux, and it just so happens to work on Chrome OS 2, which is the subject of our show. But you can now run Android apps on Windows too, and that's phenomenal. We can discuss and debate what this actually means, but I think ultimately it's going to boil down to we will learn more at Google I/O this year. I'm hopeful that Google lays down a roadmap for what they're planning on doing with all this stuff. Ideally, Google needs to have a unified coding platform. There shouldn't be a requirement for a developer to port their apps over and maintain two separate versions, one published on Play and another separate version published on the Chrome Web Store. That's going to lead to compatibility issues and apps just being forgotten. It's already hard enough for Android developers to release on Play and Amazon and all the other Google Android app stores available. So minimizing that should be the goal over time. But who knows whether native client's going to win, this is going to win, or Android apps are going to win. I can't speak to that. Hopefully we'll hear more at I/O. But until then, I'm just excited to see some developers kicking into gear with this and moving their apps over. I've heard there are a lot of them testing it now, and a few of them have already hit the market. So keep your eyes open. This is the floodgates.
There you go. And then James, we've talked about this before. We've actually talked about this multiple times, both personally and professionally. We've talked about the porting over of some apps. I remember one time you actually stating, I looked at my Android phone and I said, yes, I want that app on my Chrome OS device, and I want that app. The rest of them are crap. I believe that was almost your exact words. James, what are your thoughts on the fact that, like, basically they have released the information to the masses in a development form with an app that allows them to immediately say, does it or does it not work, and what are the errors, and let's rebuild for Chrome OS. What are your thoughts, and not just Chrome OS, but Craig said, any Chrome device except for iOS because they suck. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think it makes a Chrome OS tablet make a little bit more than no sense. So that's kind of cool, I guess. But I've had one experience with running an Android app on my Chromebook, and it was Evernote, and it was terrible. I'm fairly certain nobody uses the Android app Evernote on their Chromebook. Just going to evernote.com or using the Chrome app, which is just a bookmark for evernote.com, is just a much, much better experience. So can't say as I'm super excited or care much. What makes this kind of cool is the fact that we're talking about being able to run Android apps on Windows and Linux too, and Macs. So that's just kind of cool to say. Oh, I can run Android apps on my Mac. But will people?
That's a really good question, James. I recently heard a podcaster state that they believe that when I heard this, I thought kind of the same things that you just said, was that the Chromebook is what is required right now because the tablet market failed because you still need a keyboard, you still need a device that can get things done. Chrome OS allowed that functionality. Chrome OS, along with the Google app ecosystem of Docs, Sheets, everything like that, and then on top of that, the apps that were coming out, which were all web-based and or native client, which most people couldn't really tell. now you've got where they're trying to sneak in these Android apps. I think your comment about the fact that if a Chrome OS tablet now makes even more sense because you could just load up those apps that you would want. But in terms of that desktop versus Android experience, going from one to the other, maybe the apps aren't going to port over well. And I didn't try the Evernote app. I have an Evernote account. I've tried it. I tried using it. Even my company actually authorized it, allowed us to use it. I could never get on board with it, but that's beside the point.
I started using it because I was using Keep, and Evernote has something Keep doesn't. It's called Features, and so it's kind of cool in that respect.
Nice. You're right. Keep is so simple. So simple.
It's too simple.
It is simple, but you know what? And the other day, Inbox reminded me to use reminders for things instead of Keep. It literally was smacking me in the face saying, "Don't use Keep, use reminders." And I'm like, "Which one do I use?" So there is that.
Neither.
I know that.
Google now.
All right. Right, Craig. I'll finish with you on the Android debate. James brought up some great points about the likelihood of some of these Android applications coming directly over, right? So I think we'll finish with that. What is the final word? Are we waiting for I/O? Are we waiting for I/O 2017, 2016 to really give us the right direction? What does it all mean, Craig?
Well, to address James's point, there aren't a lot of apps that I'm going to use, but it does seem like the general public uses a lot of different apps. For example, one of them that showed up today is a ham radio app that is popular on Android and is now, as a result, going to come to Chrome OS. It seems to work well. I'm not in that hobbyist group, but people that are previously could not use it on their Chromebook. So I think we're going to run into a lot of those little tiny use cases that are now going to be addressed in a much easier fashion, whereas a developer that's developing an app in their spare time may not have the resources to develop it using the Chrome platform. This provides an easy way to bridge that gap and reach those users. I guess the question that I/O will need to answer is that kind of a trap to get developers to be reaching a new audience and then have Google come out and say, all right, now our preferred language is going to be native client, and we're going to remove support for old Android types of apps in 2 years, so you need to switch your apps to the preferred format, and that's just going to run everywhere, cross-platform, blah, blah, blah. Or are they going to try to keep both platforms alive and try to just drag them both along and tick people off in the process? I think that's probably what I/O will need to answer. The other thing that I do see a lot of people using as Android apps are going to be games. If Google can make games transfer over well, even ones that aren't built specifically for touch, but I can see a lot of emulators. I can see games like Temple Run probably, Angry Birds, I'm sure. So I think games will be popular. Games are always on the top free and top paid on the Play Store anyway. So if Google can make those work, I think that's going to make Chrome OS just as much of a casual gaming device as an Android tablet is. And I think that's a selling point for a lot of cheap, low-end devices, is can they play Angry Birds? So I think it's a win, but I'm cautious about what we're going to see at I/O.
I agree with Craig on that. That's when we first talked about Android apps coming to Chrome OS. That was the only use case I really saw for that ability, was bringing some games over, and I don't think they've done it yet. I think there's 9 Android apps or something that they've brought over, and I'm not sure if any of them are games. There's Evernote, and then 8 apps no one's ever heard of.
Well, those were the launch partner apps. Those were the companies that Google worked with while they were testing this. Now that we have a public launch, the game studios are free to do it on their own time. And for all we know, Google's been working with them, probably. But I have a feeling that some of their rendering engines and stuff may be a little more complicated.
And then, Craig, that's what I was going to say. I'm gonna put the final word on that. I'm going to put the pin in that one, and that is you're looking at some pretty extensive code. I mean, you'd have to, I don't know the technology behind the ARC Welder and or just the refashioning of the code as it goes into, goes from Android into Chrome. So it's a really tough call. We could talk about games, but what if games don't port easily, right? What if you're laying another library on top of another library on top of another library to get 3D graphics to render? That won't work very well. So I mean, we talk about things like Minecraft. Oh, well, there's a Minecraft Android port. So okay, great. Now we have Minecraft on Chrome OS. I don't know if that'll work. So it's a wait and see when it comes to games, I think, because of the fact that you do have a lot of graphics going on there that might not be as easy to port over. I don't think we've seen any games ported yet I don't think we have. Have we seen any? This is my last question. And then we do have to end it. But the last question is, I don't think I've seen any games. Have you seen any games, James?
I have not seen any games.
Craig?
I haven't, but I haven't been watching very closely.
Agreed. I will give you that as well. I think that I've been watching. I mean, there's a game on Android there's two games on Android that I love and that I'd love to see ported over quickly. One is Shadowrun and the other is Terraria. So
Skyforce.
See, there's another one. So if those were to be ported, that would be amazing. We just don't see that yet. So anyway, gentlemen, that's going to be the end of this episode. Again, we covered the Pixel. We covered the Android apps that are now available to be ported easily by the developer. Well, I wouldn't say easily. You're able to run them to a little bit of a grinder and see what pops out. Amazing things coming down the road. Next week, even more cool stuff. We've got not Android, but Chrome OS devices, Chromebooks at the $199, $150 mark even. Brand new devices, looking at ARM chips, looking at standard stuff. We've got education models coming out that are really cool. One actually, when you open it, it looks like a Chrome tab, which I thought was pretty cool. Also, we've got the Chromebit. What? Another Chrome base coming out. The Chromebit turns the TV into a Chrome base, basically. More cool stuff coming out. Awesome stuff down the road. The Pixel, Google I/O, you name it, it's coming down the road. I sound like I'm a marketing guy from Google, and I don't mean to be. I'm really talking about Chromebooks.today. Be sure to check us out next week or our next episode, whenever it comes out. And we'll see you next week. Craig, James, thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks, John. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. We'll see you next week.